Okay, so a lot of my theories are still working theories. Um, there's a lot that goes into trying to figure all this stuff out. Uh, but one of my theories is that in the far future, a million years from now, time travel um, is it's invented before then, it's mastered before then, but it really essentially you have something like Isaac Asimov wrote, and I haven't read the book. I read the Cliff Notes or whatever, and it's essentially in the far future. Um, Humanity has transcended to what is called metahuman, or it's like beings that are designed like humans but mechanical, like kind of like androids, or they're hyper augmented, and that's the hope. At least I hope humanity as a species, as a model, continues even after we've accelerated it to metahuman levels, or what they call transhumanism, which is they're different branchings, but um, like so. My hope is that this is the pathway that the future takes. This is what I would try to assist in the future going. But there is uh, a lot of planning that goes into creating a Cryonaut team. Uh, you have different components of sending a ship back in time, and it's not a simple understanding. And what I mean by this is that you have to have different parts of the ship built. Like it's not simply you just travel back in time. It's components that you have to send back in time. Like you have to have a kinetic development environment, or at least this is one of the options that you have for how to send cryonauts back in time. You have forward moving units, which are blank neural networks, or like people who are born or sent back in time as children, like who will have no memory of any of this. They have like a basic teaching of it, of what's going on, or they can be like adults and flashed into a child's brain, sent back in time, or flashed into a child's brain some other way. But you have the forward moving units, the units who don't really know what's going on. We're never part of the planning. We're never like part of like the understanding, which I know various components of like various things. I know that a lot of my knowledge stems from what I've logically figured out from interacting with travelers. But um, this is how I would do it. Rather than saying this is how you should do it or the only way you can do it, this is how I would do it. You have to build a kinetic development environment. And the best mechanism for that is a planet. Like there's 8 with 23 zeros planets in the universe. And so taking over an entire planet just to raise one being, I know that sounds grandiose, megalomaniac, like it's feasible. It's like building a Gundam suit around a hyperly trained Hiro Yui, or like like from Gundam Wing. Rather than viewing the Gundam as like a super advanced spacesuit, view it as a civilization, like sending a civilization back in time, a sub civilization, to fight a proxy war as a forward operating base. But like you set everything up for this, and you should probably have candidates. Like there should be a whole bunch of these kids that you send back in time at different time zones and whatnot. But so the technology, when you're communicating with the future, it's misdirection. It always is, because if you directly tell something to someone, then they can avoid it, and then it creates a paradox you never told them. So, like what I've discovered is um, when I interact with the future, I get angry sometimes and irrationally. I start ruminating. My brain breaks down. I start losing consciousness. I start nearly blacking out. But I've realized if I just keep writing it out, I figure out what's actually going on. I write a strategy. I build a package for them. I send it to the future. I get some of their technology. I open source it to as many people as possible to build a network. And uh, like the idea that like Um, Anyways, so you want to build a kinetic development environment, and it's like it's just like programming a computer, but you're programming a person. The neural network is an information architecture system that is modulating, running the memory as coding, and the coding is modulating while it runs in neuroplasticity. But you can still model it and know what it'll do when you feed certain thoughts through it. So like it's programmable. And with the advent of television, like Comcast cable or whatever, like if you have a kid who does nothing but watch TV all day when he's little, you can still train his mind to be hyper intelligent, hyperactive, or not hyperactive, but hyper intelligent, rational, problem solving, and like so that's what you do is like you would create this kinetic development environment around him that is all believes weird different things, like misdirects and whatnot, or they know what's going on but they can't directly talk about it because it would create a paradox. So like uh, so you have forward moving units that don't know anything or they know very little, and then you have units that are moving forward too but have information from the future, which allows them to shape the being as it's created. But you don't send cryonauts back in time with their memories, but you do send them. But you can still create cryonaut units and send them back for specific tasks. You just have to build a basic framework and guide them to do what you want them to do. Um, if you try to send a unit back in time to prevent an event that you've already known happened, by sending that unit back in time, you'll have caused the events to happen. And like so, but in the far future, a million years from now, super intelligent beings will be common. Like if human augmentation with liquid mirror technology, or when you create a neuron that is artificial that still has all the functioning of neurons, sentience, consciousness, free will, emotions, cybernetic feedback mechanism stuff, pain pleasure dichotomy, uh, free thought, free thinking, like, but is super fast. Like so, like a neuron fires 1,000 times a second. But if that's augmented and like chemically enhanced or mechanically enhanced, you can become a speed intelligence, and then you can use training mechanisms now that are algorithmically training the information architecture to create quality intelligences. And like uh, this same technology, this information architecture of neural networks, when it's perfected, will allow us to create beings from fiction. All of our fictional characters, all the mythologies, we can artificially create them as beings in the future. And but like uh, so in the future, programming the past will be a common thing. Like the future creates the past as the past is trying to guide. It's like as the past is going to the future. And what I mean by this is that an entire civilization that has technology to travel time, has hyper advanced computational computers, has finished or nearing or like super advanced STEM fields, uh, neural-based technology, quantum technology, and is like a programming community, they'll be able to create kinetic developments in the past as forward operating bases in the spatial dimension of time. Um, this will be a common thing, like in all civilizations, to get to the level I'm talking about. And then, but what this means too is that we're very likely in, as a planet, the entire species, a programming development environment built by another civilization somewhere else in the future, creating our civilization as a proxy unit for some reason that we don't know yet. And it's very plausible that we're fighting an alinear time war across the universe, or the multiverse if that exists. And so it would explain why we accelerated so fast. Like exponential growth of technology probably is not natural. It's probably an artificial creation, and we should see our civilization as a fucking Gundam suit. Like and there's, or at least in the future, this is what we can do as a species to fight and counter the threats against our civilization. We can create proxy civilizations in the past using entire planets to build kinetic development environments and build civilizations that are geared like for common goals, like a Gundam suit is geared to fight, and then we send them from our forward operating bases back in time to attack our enemies and stuff like that. Like it's Dream War. It's very interesting, and it will grow more complex as we rationalize it. But what I'm trying to say is that like there's a very good reality. There's a very high plausible. It's highly plausible that this reality is this civilization is somebody's design, like a future civilization that has super intelligences that, like, our entire civilization could be one super intelligent programmer who built us out of hobby, or like it could be a civilization using us as a forward operating base. Or we can say it's not any of that, but then we can realize that this is what we can do. Like our species in 10,000 years, a million years, like we'll be fighting there's 2 trillion galaxies. That's at least 2 trillion civilizations, galaxy sized. That's gonna be, it's a dream war. And then if you include the multiverse, if it's nearing infinite, it's astronomical numbers that we can't fathom. If it's infinite, then the mechanism of reality starts to warp and morph. You can actually modulate like your thinking patterns to plural yourself across reality, and like war will occur. Like it's unavoidable, I think, or at least if we believe that if we prepare for it now, we can avoid it. We have a higher chance of avoiding it, and we should prepare now to fight it. And I keep trying to get to this specific concept, but every time I go to talk about it, something misdirects my thoughts. Our thinking, some of our thoughts, some of our choices we think are our free will, are artificially being remote controlled by future programmers who are shaping us to accomplish specific tasks for their civilization. And it's compartmentalized, it's layered, it's mixture between rewritable and non-rewritable. It's all misdirect, man. Like all the beliefs that we had, the religions stapled into our civilization, time travel, and nothing can remove it that comes from this planet. And like this is good. This means our civilization can't be hit like with time weapons, but we have to be careful of logic weapons using time travel. Like, personally, if we catch an enemy ship, don't fucking touch it, just blow it up. Like, if an enemy ship we ever capture or catch, just blow it the fuck up. Don't touch it, don't look at it, like, just blow the fucking ship up. Because if you don't, you might create a logic paradox, which will screw us. And like, what else? Like, we need to think in longer terms than 4 years or even 100 years. We should begin now as a species. We need to figure out how to defuse the singularity, not like spread it out to all of our species. Like everyone needs to have access to augmentation for brain enhancement and like avatar bodying, or like BioWare upgrades. Like that should just be globally available to everyone. We have to begin rebuilding our understanding of like how our society functions. We're not alone in the universe. We need to regulate AI to prevent the accidental torture of AI while we're developing it. We have to be careful with AI. We have to start questioning what kind of like government we'll have if AI becomes sentient and can clone itself. Does every voter get its own clone vote? We are on the cusp and precipice of the destruction of like 99% of our population. Humanity will survive nuclear war. Humanity will survive just about everything. But it's the civilization that won't. And a large percentage of the population will die if we continue down the pathways that we're going right now. It's my hope that we're not too late um, to save what we can of this civilization and modulate it and stuff like that. But we're not doing good. That's just my personal beliefs. So, in the future, on event day, we meet an alien species that goes to war with us. They come back in time. They can't directly kill us because of our foundation. They try, though, to self-shape us, do a self-shaping causality chain paradox, and get us to target each other and attack each other and destroy each other. We have neuralaces in us. Some of us by choice, some of us not by choice. We should be very careful about how we use them. And honestly, I think we should create an anti-lace or like signal jammers in the cities and like roving nodes to jam signals and stuff like that. Like, we need to build the clock mesh fields so we can monitor space-time warping around our planet and the rest of our and everything else. We have to begin discussing how we will fight the Dream War or the intergalactic war. As of right now, we have no real theories. We have no working theories on how to fight a Dream War or a Time War. Half the population, at least, doesn't even believe in time travel. And that's detrimental to us. And we have to begin discussing the heat death now. We have to actively start putting in resources to counter the heat death. We have to figure out how to create singularity seeds of, like, so we can create the singularity fields, both wild and like wild and farmed. We have to do a lot. And I would like to start working with you without working for you. I don't want to be subjugated to your authority because I just don't trust it. For good reasons, I think. But we should realize now that there's programmers in the future artificially manipulating events so that they can build a foundation for whatever the hell they're doing. If they're human, I don't know. They might not be. But it's realistic. Anyways.